staying on time. What's going on, Titan Slayer?
What up, Titan? What's going on, my brother?
Alright. So that is what the feed looks like. Where our pictures are brightening up at right there would be your face if you had your camera
Yeah,
on.
I promise you, I wanted to have the setup optimal, but it's just one thing after another. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
Trying to help out the parents, but anyway.
Nah, you good. I get it.
Good
I get
morning,
it, actually.
Tobias. What's going on, my brother?
What's going on, Tobias J?
Okay,
What's going
so
good?
let me ask, are we clear for spoiler territory while we're having discussion, or what are we doing
Oh,
here?
if you're here, you're getting spoiled.
Okay, all right.
You
I didn't
ain't
know if
seen
you
it.
wanted. Yeah, I,
We will
I
put that preference out there.
yeah, I didn't know if you
As we
wanted
are
to.
throughout the show, we will. If you have not seen this and you don't want to be spoiled, then leave. 'Cause
Okay.
we are talking. We are
Okay.
going to be talking about this.
Excellent. Andre, what's going on, my brother? Welcome
What's
in.
going on, Andre London? Let me back out. What's going on, Accelerate?
Oi, oi, acceleration, my brother. What's going on? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I didn't know if you wanted to put that in your thumbnail that it's going to be spoiler talk or not, because I know with my reviews, I put spoiler free. But if we're about to go in all the way, some
I mean, we
people,
got to talk about it, right?
we do got
We
to
got
talk about it. I'm with
we
you.
got we got
But
about we got about 2 hours, so we
yeah,
got to
we
fill
got a
that. We
few
got to fill the
hours.
2 hours or something.
Yeah. Yeah, we could. You haven't seen it, Andre? Well, I don't know what
Are
to
you are you planning on watching it?
because if you are, you about to.
If you're planning on it, I'll come back to the reviews afterwards. Woo!
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
see. Rank 5 Kate this morning. Now have to stick up and ascend. Oh, well, good luck with that type thing.
Congratulations, Titan.
Sounds like
Kate's a
you're,
monster.
yeah. Sounds like you're planning on doing your run with Kate.
Yeah. I'm doing mine tomorrow, as you well know, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
go
What time are
all
you
the way
starting
in.
tomorrow?
I am
What time are you
starting
starting?
very early tomorrow, brother. I am trying to
What,
wake up
what,
at
what
6
time is
a.m.
early? Oh,
I'm
I will
trying to
not
wake
be
up
on
at
it. I
6
will not
and
be on at
trying.
6 a.m. with you.
Well, I'm trying. I'm trying to start at 7 a.m., brother. I'm trying to be ready to go by 7 a.m.
By 7 a.m.,
Well, because I'm trying to do as many passes as I can do in 2 days.
right,
So
right. I might
and
be
that's
on at around 8 or 9 your time.
hmm
I should be on around then.
yeah. I'm gonna talk to Assassin tonight because he probably still gonna be asleep too. And just so we have a plan ironed out already. That way, I'm already in it. I don't know if I don't know if everybody else will be. Lefty said he's not gonna be up that early, and I don't know if Jules will be up that early either. But we'll see. But yeah, if you want to kick this thing off, man, I'm ready when you are.
All right, well, let's get this puppy rolling. So, welcome to the first time I've ever discussed anything outside of Marvel on my channel, and that is we're going to be talking Gone or Generation B. I don't know why I keep wanting to say Gone B. It's
Yeah, I
Generation
was
B.
looking at that. I think you actually typed that once, and I was looking like, wait, what?
What?
Yeah, I was
What's
like,
Gone
he's
B?
thinking, yeah, he's thinking of his alliance.
Gone B was my old alliance.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yep,
So
yep.
I
But
guess,
Gen V.
I'm sorry. I guess, basically, for those of you guys who aren't aware, we can do a quick recap of what Gen V is, real quick. I think
Yes.
we could, start off with that.
Yeah.
Um, from my understanding, guys, Gen V is a academy. It's like a what in America, in the United States, we call college. Okay, because I know overseas you guys call college something else. So in the United States, we consider college to be after you have graduated high school, after you went basically through 12 years of school, you can have the option to continue your career at school for tuition of sorts, and that's called college for us. And Gen V basically is a college where they learn to become superheroes, and I say that in quotations with my
Yes.
fingers because it's all political, as most things are,
Right.
which is the real agenda. And I'll let Ghost Dog take it from there. I was just kind of giving them the idea of what this place
Well,
is.
that's
It's
yeah, that's
actually
the
a
setting.
school,
Yeah,
right?
it's actually a
It's
school.
a
So the
school.
settings of school. This is a big time spinoff from the series The Boys. For those who have watched The Boys, know the boys are what superheroes probably actually would be if we really had those.
Yep. Yep.
If we
Absolutely.
really had them here in reality, because they do some things that you would expect somebody of that caliber to do. Not necessarily always the hero. There's colleges over this side of the world other than America. Billy D, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think Matt said they call college something else. They don't act. It's not our college. I think we had that discussion once, so that's why I said that.
Yeah, I think I think they
It's a
consider it
university.
university.
Yeah, university
Yeah,
or something like that. Yeah,
in the UK.
you're right. So
Um,
that's why I prefaced it that way.
yeah. Uh, but yeah, so the boys out, just or they had this spinoff. So all these kids were given this. What's the stuff they were given?
So basically, it's a serum of sorts, and it's called damn it, what is it called? Uh, it was right on the tip of my tongue, and then
It
I
starts
just
with a
lost it.
V, and that's why
Yeah,
it's called
yeah,
GenV.
it is compound V.
Compound
Thank
V.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Sorry. Yeah.
So basically, if you guys have seen like the Ninja Turtles, you know how they had that green oozy stuff, and that's how they became Ninja Turtles. Like they mutated. Think of it like that. Or if you like Captain America, right? The Super Soldier Serum. Think of that when you're thinking of Compound V, right?
Yeah. So compound V is this thing that the government had cooked up and paid parents basically to give their kids, and that at some point they would then manifest into whatever powers came from the compound V. It had different effects on different people. Some would have super speed. Some would be super strong. Some would turn into fire. Some could
Right.
read minds. Some
Hmm.
could control people. So there's a lot of different things that you could do with the combo V would have effects on different people for. So Gen V seems more prep school than college university. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking too, Tobias J. More of a prep where they kind of ranked you, and that's actually how season or episode 1 started. After once we got to the campuses, they had these rankings. Guinness is in my serum.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a weird one because I've never experienced a school or even fathom a school where social media was like the thing where they were like, I'm number one with this amount of followers. Because the whole concept to me was very different. Well, I mean, it was fine. I'm not talking about it. It's just to me, I thought it was kind of like that's a school. It's like their college because the graduation would be them going to the seven, right? That's the ultimate goal,
Well,
right?
the goal is to hopefully get into the 7, but
Right,
you need benefactors, and you need to have a certain ranking and things like that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So
right.
we open up
That's
with
the politics of it, right?
yeah. So we open up with Maria Monroe as a young child playing with her sister. Then she ends up having to go to the restroom. She's probably in the neighborhood of, I guess, about 12 to somewhere between 11 and 13 years old.
Right. The
Because
age
she
that
the age
happens.
right when women start to
Right.
have their thing. And,
Nature
it
happens.
was her
Yep.
first time. Yep, first time that it happened, and hers. She realized she could control. Well, I don't know if she realized she could control it. She probably was freaking out that it was something was happening, and then the blood actually went up, and then her mom walked in and freaked out and scared her, and she ended up slicing her mom's throat, killing her mom, watching her mom bleed out there on the bathroom floor. And it's a pretty gruesome opening to a show.
It really
But
is.
it's pretty much what you expect if you watch The Boys.
Right.
Dad walks in, tries to figure out what's going on. She has this major, emotions. and her emotions are what is basically controlling her powers at the moment. So the emotions are overwhelmed, and the blood goes everywhere. Ends up killing her dad as well. It was pretty gruesome opening.
I mean, it hooked
Then
me to Acceleration.
yeah, yeah. The
So,
first episode. The first episode is what got everybody like, whoa, what is this? Who is this? Who is this person, and why is she able to do this? Right?
so before we go any further, I wanted to have this discussion with you specifically, and
Uh huh.
maybe the chat can give their thoughts as well. So, guys, first of all, this is a very experimental drug. It can kill you. Okay, it has killed some of the people before, and also these parents are being paid to inject this in their children. So the conversation that I wanted to start off with you, GD, is, do we think that's okay? Is that okay to do? Like, I understand it's high risk, high reward, but the idea of injecting drugs in your children in the first place, is that like, because to me, that's kind of abusive, you know? Like, I don't care what the outcome potentially could be. I think that's absolutely something you shouldn't be doing right there with these kids, because I know later on down the line, the conversation happens that, well, your parents deserve death for what they did to you,
Right.
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 So that's how I'm tying it in, and I don't want to forget that, because I don't know how this conversation will lead to. But since we're here in the beginning, do you think it was correct of any of these parents to do this to these children
No,
in
because
the
they
first
all did it
place?
for a buck. You
Right,
basically put your child
exactly.
in danger for a
Right,
buck.
you actually prostituted your children is what you did, right?
Essentially,
Except for no actual engagement of
yeah.
the actual deeds themselves. But
Right.
that's basically what you did. You exploited your children, and you put them for money is what you did essentially. And knowing the risk that it can kill them, you still did it anyway as a parent. To me,
Mm-hmm.
that's horrible parenting. That's terrible. That
Yeah. Yeah.
is at the absolute worst.
I,
So
here's my thing. I don't know if they actually knew it would be bad for them or it would kill them, because I don't see this many parents signing their kids up saying, "Yeah, if it's potentially might kill them, sure, go ahead." I don't see that being a thing.
well, I think they
Remember, mind you, this was a government experiment that the government was willing to push
uh-huh.
to try to see what this would do to people.
But
If the
when
government's
has
pushing it, they're probably not going to tell the full truth. Like, hey, we're going to give you this serum. It's going to help your child be better.
right, they
But
probably would
They
not come
probably didn't tell.
forward.
They probably
They
didn't tell
probably,
the part like,
but they
hey, this
would
might kill
tell
them.
them that there is a risk factor. They probably put it in a fine print, or they probably say something along the lines of, "Hey, this is an experimental drug, so there can be side effects."
Yeah, there
Something
can't
like
be
that.
side
'Cause
effects. Yeah, they'll
that
say
sounds a
something like
lot.
that.
That sounds a lot less drastic than, "Hey, by the way, you might die," right? And then they put it in like a fine print clause or something like that, where this is not limited to just blah 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 blah, right?
Right.
So still, the fact remains, to me as a parent, and we both have children, I would never
I would
sign up for
never.
anything for
First off, I don't
any of
trust the
my
government that much
kids.
anyway.
You know, like, I mean, for money, for anything, I just wouldn't do it. So the fact that they said, well, your parents deserve death, um to me, I don't judge that way, right? I don't look at it that way. But if they happen to die in the process of doing something to their daughter, to me, that's their own fault, to me,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what you signed up for when you did what you did. I don't think you deserve to die, but if you died, well, you signed up for that, because I mean, you put yourself in this situation, right? So that's just how I look at it.
Yeah, yeah. So fast forward, Maria Monroe ends up being um, she's
Orphan,
in
right?
like she's an orphan. She's in a facility.
Uh-huh.
She hasn't seen her sister since the incident, um, and she's looking at a way to try to learn how to control her power. Inside this, I don't know if it was like it was a gym was she working out in, or was just some random
Yeah,
big room
it
inside
looked
this
like a gym,
yeah
old gym.
an old gym? And she was learning how to kind of learn how to use her powers. What she didn't realize was that she was just on the tip of her powers, but she was looking to try to get into was it what's the name of the university? Was the university's name?
Uh,
The school's name?
Godolkin or
Godolkin. Yeah, Godolkin.
Godolkin, something like that. Yeah,
Godolkin. Yeah, Godolkin.
universities.
Godolkin
Right.
U or something like that. Um, where she could then learn more about her powers and be around more people like her, so she could learn a little bit more about her powers. She eventually ends up making it in because she has a benefactor, which we come to find out later on. I think either late episode 1 or early episode 2, that she has a benefactor. And we weren't sure who this benefactor was. I think it was in episode 2 we found out she had a benefactor.
You might be right about that.
Yeah, but in episode 1, she meets up with other people. Her roommate ends up being Emma Mayer.
Uh,
Who,
yeah. Let me look. Let me.
who
It
is
is
who is Liz
Emma
Broadway?
Meyer. Yeah, Emma Meyer.
Yeah,
Right.
Liz Broadway plays her. Who she could shrink or enlarge herself based on calorie intake. Um, very very disturbing to find out how she was able to shrink herself
Well,
later on.
that's actually another way that she can shrink herself too.
Yeah, we found that out much later, but
Right. Right.
initially how we found out how she was doing it
Right.
was kind of disturbing.
So that's
Kind of
the
disturbing.
concept. That's the concept of Ant-Man, right? Or Wasp, right?
Yeah, Wasp, Ant Man, they can
Right.
grow and
That's
shrink.
just the
Yeah,
general
yeah,
concept of it.
yeah. Um, also later on, she ends up meeting Luke, who's Golden Boy, who's essentially was the number 1 rated person in the school. He's getting to they end up getting to like a scrimmage fight or some sort of
Yeah.
brawl with another character whose arms he ends up ripping off and then reattaching.
Right. So I guess that guy that was actually up for brawling with him had regeneration uh powers of some
Abilities of
sort.
some sort. Yeah.
And I don't know. He kind of looked like he was kind of strong, so maybe he has a little bit of super strength. I couldn't really tell. It was just like a quick scene.
Yeah,
So
it was very quick.
you didn't get too
Golden
much
Boy didn't
from
mess
it.
around. Golden Boy was is essentially Sunspot
Yes.
in Marvel. He's
Right.
really strong. Really
Very,
strong.
very strong, very
Yeah.
capable. He can fly. He can I guess
He
get
gets
to
super
incredible
strength.
heat.
Yeah.
He can apparently also off himself if he wanted to.
Which
So
we'll talk
there's
about a
that.
little later.
Right.
His best friend was Andre Anderson, who also was the son of Polarity, which isn't discussed a whole lot in The Boys. It was touched on very briefly.
Right.
And then Jordan Lee, played by both Derek Liu and London Thor. If you didn't know that Jordan Lee was he basically shapeshifted from a guy to a girl based on the situation. I
Right.
guess that needed to
So
fit.
so that's a what? That's a dual gender
Yeah,
individual, I guess.
dual gender individual. Yeah,
Right.
and Luke was also dating Maddie or Kate Dunlap, which was played by Maddie Phillips.
Yeah. I mean, technically, it's not. I mean, it is a hermaphrodite, but at the same time, it's two separate people too. So it's kind of weird to me, that concept of how they introduced that character of Jordan. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because technically, I don't know the anatomy of how they would actually look because they're actually it's like they're shape shifting,
I would just
right?
call it bi. Yeah, she was basically.
Yeah. So
They were basically a bi-gender individual. Is how you probably would look at it.
yeah.
Yeah. We also got to meet Justine, who was played by Maria J. Badestis. I think is how you say her last name. She was one of the girls who was like recording.
Oh, I don't see
She
that
was
person
one.
on
She
here.
was
Hang
one
on,
of
let me see. Oh yeah, no, you're right.
the. Yeah.
Justine Maria Bedestis. Yeah, you're right. Mhm.
hmm And then the school was ran by two people. Clancy Brown played Professor. What was his name? Professor Brinkoff. Yeah, that's what, Professor Brinkoff. And then Shelley Kahn played Indiria Shetty. Yeah. So Shetty was running like the day-to-day operations of the school, whereas Professor Brinkoff was in charge of kind of like setting up the students to find the best potential for them and so on and so forth. And they were kind of in cahoots together for a few other things. There were a few other people there. You had Rufus, who was played by Alexander Colvert. Rufus was he was a school prick, basically. I guess the best way to put it. You had Sam, who was played by Asa Jarman, and then there were a few other ones that were in and around, but those were the main ones that we run into several different times throughout the show. So that kind of gives everybody a setup of like who was who, just in case you would say, who are they talking about? But there's that. So they meet up with them. She's trying to figure out her way. Her roommate, Emma, takes her to, I forgot what they call it, but they end up going to that event where Golden Boy ends up ripping that boy's arms off. Tobias has said that he thought Golden Boy was supposed to be becoming a Homelander. He was going to replace Homelander because if you watched The Boys, you knew that Homelander had kind of came off
off the rails. Oh yeah.
Yeah, off the rails. He was already off the rails. Everything. He's far off the rails now. He's in a whole different. He's in a different area code from where the rails were at.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So they were looking for a replacement there. It seemed that Marie kind of have caught a liking to Golden Boy slightly, just seeing him there. Because when he burned, everything burned off of him, including his clothes. So,
right. Yeah. That was true.
GenV, if you have not watched it yet, don't watch it with your kids. It is not a kids show.
Please don't do that
at all.
to them.
Please
don't do that to them.
Please don't do that. You don't want to have to answer those questions. Do not want to answer those questions. But as we start rolling through the first episode, Golden Boy is starting to get memories of his brother. He then approaches Professor Brinkoff in his office about something, and he knows that they're keeping something from him about his brother, and that he wants off, and Brinkoff is trying to keep him there. What's going on, Chief? What is GenV? Well, we're discussing it now. GenV, if you watch The Boys, Chief, it's basically the spinoff of The Boys. It's an Amazon Prime show.
Yep.
So essentially, Luke, or Golden Boy, ends up killing Professor Brinkoff.
Correct.
Marie ends up walking in on him doing it. He pretty much then starts chasing after Marie to get her to stop. Jordan happens to walk in on the whole scenario as well. Jordan helps her get away. He's strong enough to at least fight Golden Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he can beat Golden Boy though.
No, but he
can hold his own against him though. He showed that.
Yeah. He showed that.
Or they showed that. I don't know the correct terminology right now.
Yeah, because they both end up fighting him at different points.
Right. He yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be insensitive, but I really don't know how to address Jordan other than just
they.
Jordan.
You address them as they.
Yeah, they. Okay. Sure.
They. Yeah.
They.
They.
Well, they fought him. And
Marie
they held their own.
Tried to help, but she didn't know how to help.
Right. I think the reason why she was I think she was just caught off guard and kind of like in a state of what do you call it, shock. So she didn't really know how to respond, and her natural fight or flight has not been to fight. It was always to flight. Just to get the hell out of there. But I think over the course of the show, it changes into fight.
Right.
But originally and initially, it was flight. I think
Yeah.
that's just, everyone has their initial response, which is fight or flight, and she just was like, okay, I gotta go, I gotta get out of here. And I honestly don't think that she would have said anything when she said she wasn't going to say anything. I just
Yeah.
think
Out of
that,
fear, I don't think she
ri-
would have initially said
right,
anything.
I don't think she would have either. But I think that, uh, Jesus help me out. I think he was at the state of just like, I need to make sure and neutralize any potential threat. And
Yeah.
since technically she just walked in wrong time, wrong place, he's like, now
Yeah.
I just got to off you. And I just think that's what it was. I don't think I don't even think they hate each other. I think they had a decent relationship where for how the storyline started. I just think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
where
He was
they
one
were
of the
at
first
in
people
the
that kind of
moment.
like really accepted her, you know, for
Right.
being, even though she was kind of an outsider to the little group.
Right. And
Because prior to all that, I forgot to mention they went out.
right. And they hit the town.
Andre was hit the town. They were kind of doing some drugs, I guess.
They were
Andre
definitely doing drugs.
and Andre and Andre made a mistake and accidentally flipped was it a coin?
I think he transformed. I think they deal with metal, right? So they deal with various metals, and I think he did like some origami with some metal into a bird esque type of uh uh the object, and then
Right,
he was showing her that he could get it into this woman's, I guess, drink. And in the process of doing so, there was somebody that like bumped him, that
bumped him.
diverted, right, it diverted
It
his
ended up
attention, and then he sliced the girl's throat. It
yeah,
cut through her like butter.
yeah.
And I guess Maria Monroe wanted to save this person, and she actually did. But this is where the politics of this whole facade of this school comes into play, because she had to take the rap, which is
Yeah,
essentially
they
the
wanted to get
fall,
rid of her. They wanted to get rid of her because she saved somebody.
right? And
Simple.
that's where the politics of real stuff comes into play, in my
Hmm.
mind. You know what I'm saying? It's a crappy move, but they have a reputation to uphold, and all those kids that she was with, they had status.
Yep.
They were like the top five or in the top brackets, and they had parents with money and, as prestige. And this is not the MCOC prestige that we're talking, right? So they had an image to uphold, and they weren't going to get in trouble regardless of what they did,
Right.
even though they were the ones doing all the bad, i.e. the drugs, i.e. sneaking out, i.e. partying, i.e. killing somebody. Basically, they're not going to get in trouble for any of that. So they had to punish somebody, and guess what? It's gonna be you, and that you was Maria Monroe,
Maria
unfortunately,
Monroe. Yeah,
because
unfortunately,
she was a nobody. She
she
was
was the
basically an
expendable one.
outcast,
Yeah, of
right?
the group. Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
that's a hard truth that when it comes to certain games that you play and politics and stuff, that's just what happens. I'm not calling it right or wrong, but that is reality in my opinion. So
Yep. So yeah, so we get to that point, and then we fast forward back to the Golden Boy attack. Essentially makes it out to the main grounds area, and Andres asking him what's going on, and they're trying to get him to calm down. And I think Kate had tried to get him to calm down as well. We weren't really 100% sure how strong she was. We just knew that she was strong, strong enough to handle certain things.
right,
As far as in Kate's powers, basically was she could tell you what to do or rewrite what you thought you wanted to do. So like she could walk up to you and tell you that go find a bat and hit yourself in the leg with it until for 100 times or until your leg breaks, whichever
right.
comes first. And you would go do it with because that's what she told you to do, and that was the kind of power she had. But the more she used her powers, it took a toll on her.
Right.
Um,
It,
but
it it didn't have it looked like her eyes were getting complete. I don't know exactly all the symptoms that she would face for overuse of her abilities. I think she was a telepath, and I also think that she had mind control as well. Um, but that is one thing that I did appreciate about this show is that there are side effects to having these gifts, so to speak, and we see that with not only her but other individuals as well
Yeah,
from overuse or just
or just
your
using them in
body,
general.
right, it
Yeah,
just using them in general where your body's not supposed to do something and you continuously do it, then there's a price to pay. I did
yeah,
like that aspect of things because I think maybe in reality, if we did have some powers, then some people would experience some effects that would be detrimental
I
or
mean, you're talking about
critical.
something that's unhuman that you're doing to the human body. Essentially, something's got to give.
Right, exactly. I did appreciate that part of it, and I'm very curious to see um if she can master that to like where she gets some sort of a cerebro, so to speak, to kind of enhance her abilities to where they don't have as many side effects on her end because we will I think I suspect we will be seeing more of her in season 2. And
Yeah,
I think she's going to be pretty upset. I suspect she's not going to be happy, but I did understand her argument. I know we're not there yet, and I know I'm getting veering
right.
off track. My
Yeah, yeah.
bad, but yeah,
We're real far from that. Let's
yeah,
do episode one. We need to push the story forward. So episode one ends with Golden Boy essentially committing suicide by exploding himself,
yes.
um, by hitting himself up so hot that he exploded, which was pretty gnarly. Uh, Not something that you normally see.
No.
But yeah, he just heated himself up to the point that he just blew up. So that's pretty much where episode one ended. Episode two picks up with the aftermath of that, where they're trying to put together pieces and things like that. He did whisper something to Andre, and I forget what it was that he whispered. I think he said something
He
along like
said he said
"Find,
his
find my
dad's
brother."
name. Yeah, he said his brother's name, and then he also said his dad's name.
Yeah,
And those were supposed to be like context clues of what Andre was supposed to be doing, which he did figure it out, by the way,
yeah.
which was a really weird
They ended up
spot to
figuring it
hide
out.
that damn phone. That was a really weird spot to hide a phone. Like, why there? Why right there? You know?
So,
Like,
so for those who don't know, um, one of Andre's powers is the same as his dad. He can control metal. Not only can he form it, they can bust it open
yeah.
and tear through it.
And he also has like super strength as well too, right? I believe. Or is it
I don't
just
think he has any
specifically to metal? Because he was getting in
specifically
a couple
to.
fights and he was hitting pretty hard actually.
Yeah, I don't think he has any super strength. But I could be wrong. Um,
Well, when he fought old boy, they were hitting each other pretty hard, so that's why I thought maybe he had some sort of a strength
Got you. Yeah, he may be
enhancement.
able to, maybe some kind of enhanced. I don't know if he's same level as Homelander or
No, I don't think so.
Gold Boy.
Yeah, I think he has more than a base ability though.
Yeah, but this phone that he ends up talking that Jay is talking about is hidden inside his father's statue in uh
In the growing area.
in the groin area. He tears that off and leaves it tore off because him and his dad have a very unhealthy relationship. As far
Initially,
as
yeah.
initially and overall, there was things that obviously brought them back together. No son who has any kind of decent relationship with their dad wants to see their dad go through what his went through later
Right.
on.
Right,
But
absolutely.
um,
Oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I would also add in that these guys, I don't know if you've ever seen these shows. I have not, but I know what the premise of these shows are. Like Tatses and Tiaras or whatever. So basically, those parents pressure their kids into this fame and fortune lifestyle. And it seemed like his dad was like molding him to a T, like micromanaging the crap out of him. And it seemed like the way that he coped a lot was to try to escape through drugs and through, activities that kids do or teens do with other teens, and that was his real escape because he felt kind of it to me. He felt kind of imprisoned by his father because the expectations of not only who his dad was, but who he was trying to mold him into becoming. And a lot of parents will do that with their children when they're trying to push them towards greatness. It doesn't even have to be that kid's dream. It's their dream and they're projecting that onto their kids, and that's what it seemed like the relationship between those two
Yeah,
was.
between Andre and his dad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it seemed to me at least. And he
And
he
Andre's
resented his
dad,
dad for that.
yeah, Andre's dad, Polarity, was played by Sean Patrick Thomas.
He's a good actor.
Probably
He's actually a good
he's
actor.
he's a really good actor. He's played in
Save
he
the
was in the
Last Dance. I
Barbershop
love that.
series, Save the Last Dance.
That was a good movie.
Was he in The Wire?
Oh, I want to say maybe he guest starred in The Wire, but I don't think he was
Yeah, I think he made
actual
guest star on
main.
The Wire. I don't
Yeah.
think he was a regular character on The Wire. But those are some notable movies that we definitely know him from.
Yeah, he's a really good actor, in my opinion.
Yep. Yep. He's got a pretty good range. And he plays Polarity. Polarity now is no longer part of the Seven. He's more of a figure speech, a figure
Yeah, he's a figurehead.
of like a figurehead, like where he goes around and does different things for the company and so on and so forth. So he still works for the people who make the Compound V, which was what was the name of the? See, this wasn't talked about a lot during this series, but on The Boys, the head company is
Oh, Vought?
Vought. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Vought. So he does a lot of work for Vought and things like that. So he goes questions his dad about a couple things. His dad and him I think they're working now to try to get him, since Golden Boy's no longer there. He's wanting him to take up his mantle, become the next Polarity.
Right.
And, I think his status went from was he third?
Oh man, the ranking system was kind of.
I think he
I
was
didn't
second.
hate.
Wasn't he second or something like that? And
Yeah,
then
I
moved up
think
to
he was
first
like
and-
second. Yeah, something
and
like. I
then
think
Golden Boy,
Jordan.
yeah.
I think Jordan was third or something. I don't really. I didn't
Jordan's
pay
always
too
been
much.
fifth, and he was Jordan was mad because even after the fact, he still was fifth.
Oh,
And
was that what it? Okay.
Yeah, and Maria Monroe had hopped up from not even being on the list to being like third or something like that.
Okay,
And
that's
then
what it was.
she didn't know she even made it into the top 8
Because she didn't even have a phone, right?
She didn't even have a phone. Like
Yeah.
yeah, and then Vault gave her all the stuff with, here's your phone, here's this, here's that, here's da 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 da. And she's kind of like overwhelmed by like what's going on. People want to come up to her and take pictures with her and do everything. Meanwhile, Emma had told her story to somebody, and they shared it on a social media post, and pretty much ratted her out, like how she does her shrinking, how her shrinking thing works, and essentially that she throws up essentially to
Right.
shrink.
So I guess they're alluding to her being a bulimic.
Yeah.
Which you guys, I understand that people associate that with throwing up. I don't know. I think there's actual symptoms with that. So I don't know all the symptoms that come with that, but I think that's what they were alluding to, that she was bulimic of some sort and she had an unhealthy sickness and she, doesn't need to do things that way, I think. And then her mom ended up showing up and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, stuff like that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were basically making it a bad thing of what she was doing, and that trying to make it seem like she needed help is essentially what it sounded like initially when that girl came out.
Which she didn't. She just
Right.
she did different things to try to be accepted. Obviously she had, we walked into her on the first time we met her, she was hosting a match between her and her pet mouse, I think is what it was, or pet
Right.
gerbil.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so it's just kind of weird. And then, she ends up hooking up with this one guy who I don't
Oh
remember.
God. I guess he was
He,
the guy that went to all the freshmen, they said, and
he
he just kind of wanted, he wanted
yeah,
fresh meat,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah,
Um,
essentially. But it's because he had a complex about his own personal thing. So he had asked her to shrink down so
oh
that he
God.
can, yeah,
Yeah.
so that she could hang from,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, make him feel bigger about himself. Let's just put it
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it too, because that
Make him feel
was
bigger about
wow.
himself because that's pretty much how what that boiled down to. Yeah,
Wow.
if you've watched it, you know exactly what we're talking about. And if you
Yeah.
haven't, then
Yeah.
you're like, what are they talking about? And then you need to go
Yeah.
watch it. You need to go watch it.
Well, as long as you're of age, I would say. As long as you're of age, because they don't really hold back too much
No, there's
about
no holdback.
being they're very graphic, guys. They're
There's
very
no
graphic.
holdback. No holdback.
Yeah, so you will see some things that even you might not want to see, because I definitely didn't. But
I don't remember when that part was funny. I mean, it was funny to a point. It
I
was funny to
don't.
the point of I felt bad for him that he had to have her do that, so that he felt like I don't know, man.
And that was ego trip. That was all that
Yeah,
was. But whatever.
that was trying to be an ego trip, trying to make him feel
Yeah.
better about himself.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly when we run into Sam. We run into Sam the first time of him
Right.
escaping, but we didn't know who that was
I think it
at
was
that
on
point.
episode one or
It was
two. It has
episode
to.
one.
Right.
He escaped,
Right. He
but we didn't
escaped,
know. But we didn't know who he was. They
right.
just
And
said
this is what I
meth.
meant
They just
by what
say
I was
meth
telling you.
head. Yeah, meth head on the run is what they called it, and that
Right.
was their term for people of the that had superpowers that were kind of on the crazier side. They said, but it's because the way they treated them.
Hmm. And
But
I think uh the guy Polarity's son,
mhm.
Andre, and Marie, they stopped him and helped recapture
Yes,
him.
recapture him without knowing who he was.
Right.
Yep.
But that was the first time he did make an appearance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I think he makes his second appearance in, I believe it's episode 3, when Emma decides to help out Andre trying to locate Luke's brother, who's little
Hmm.
boy's brother, Sam. Which then she shrinks herself all the way down. Got your lefty Billy going to watch with pillow.
Ears, la la la. Oh, that's funny. uh, yeah, if you're not of
uh,
age, it's all about cartoons and piggies and flowers and I don't know, whatever. I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. So moving into Emma finding him after shrinking down, Andre had asked her to shrink down to go find her. He loses contact with her, I think, partway through,
Hmm.
but she does end up finding him. At first, Sam thinks that Emma is just a figment of his imagination because he's essentially mentally has went kind of crazy down there because
Right,
they basically keep them on isolation.
right, guys.
Uh,
So, for those of you guys don't know the psychology behind seclusion, most people don't, or actually, no one is meant to be secluded for too long, because you actually can start to try to talk to yourselves, try to befriend like bugs and stuff like that to try to keep your sanity before you actually will lose it from being isolated for so long. We don't know the context of how long he's been down there, but he did think he was going insane when he saw a person, which
yeah,
hallucinogens can be a side effect of being isolated for so long.
yep, yep. So she convinces him that nope, I'm real, blah blah blah. The guard ends up coming in, asking him who's he talking to or something like that, or what's he doing.
Right.
He ends up assaulting him, and I think she ends up at that point jumping in his ear,
which was
He re-
crazy.
yeah, and basically coming out the other side, killing him by going through his brain. Um,
Right. Uh,
so
yeah, that was pretty
they,
brutal.
yeah,
That was pretty brutal.
they was pretty brutal. So they escape. They run. They end up at. Is this the point in time they end up at the movie theater?
Yes.
Yeah, they end up going to a movie theater, staying there in an abandoned movie theater, just kind of hanging out. She tells him to stay. She goes back to go find Andre and Marie and Kate. Um, that and Jordan. That puts us pretty much in episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
4 gets a little wild. Um, they in episode 4 they is this one where they by the end of it they end up losing their memory?
Correct, because they were in the okay. So let's rewind just a little bit.
Go ahead.
So in the they called this place, guys, the Woods, and I'm saying that in quotations again. That was the name of the like Arkham type of facility that they were being held hostage in, and this was under the school.
Yeah,
Okay,
under the school.
this
Yeah,
is under the school. Okay, where these gifted individuals are being imprisoned at and experimented on. Um, and you have the picture of the doctor guy,
yeah.
and it keeps
Doctor
popping up.
Edison
Right,
Cordosa.
right, and he was one of the main ones that was experimenting on these individuals, and it just goes to show you guys that just because someone is soft spoken and pleasant doesn't mean they're a good person. Remember that. It's life lessons 101. But he was one of the main ones that was trying to create a well, initially it started off as like a what was it, just something to disable their abilities, and then
Yeah,
that
they were just
turned
looking to kind of once Homelander had kind of went off the
neutralized.
rails, they were looking at ways to try to neutralize the abilities.
Right, and then I think that turned into a fatal what is that, is it a spray, is it I know it's
No,
some.
it was just a virus.
Yeah, okay, okay. So it was a virus. And they found that out later on, but initially it was just something to get rid of their powers. And it turned out to be more. But the reason why he is a lot more aggressive towards these individuals is because of doctors like that who kept mistreating him the entire time he was down there. So his view on these individuals is like, well, everyone's like this because this is how they treated me this entire time, and I haven't done anything to be treated this type of way. And not only was it just him, he also watched his brother get the same treatment for a
Yep.
while, and that's what you don't find out until later, that him and his brother are very very similar when it comes to abilities and things like that. It's just they've subjected him to more tests and drugs than his brother, because I don't know exactly how his brother ended up just being the main golden boy somehow. I think that girl had something to do with wiping his memory and making him a certain way, I
Yeah,
think.
which we're gonna touch on. So on episode 4, um, Emma meets back up with everybody. They approach. Oh, who did they approach?
Emma.
Long story.
uh
It, well, Emma,
well, they
Andre,
right.
Kate, Jordan, and Maria end up approaching different people. Was this also the episode that Maria ended up popping old boys?
Oh, yeah, because she was trying to
Vampire?
figure out. Yeah, that was
Yeah, because they thought that he had mind wiped them,
right,
or
and
was
he
that
did.
episode 5?
It
Those
was
episodes
someone.
starting. It was
Yeah,
one of those episodes.
yeah,
But so they all thought they were mind wiped at this party that
which
Rufus was throwing.
technically they
They,
were
they were. They thought it was Rufus who did it
right,
because
and it
Rufus also
wasn't
had some kind of mind control ability, but it wasn't him.
right.
Later on, they come to find out it was somebody else, which we'll talk about here shortly.
Now I think you have to be within a certain radius of Rufus for his to
Of
work,
Rufus
and I
for his to
and-
work.
right, and I think with old girl, I think she has to physically touch you.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's the difference there.
yeah. She has to physically touch you. I think you have to be within a certain range for his.
Right.
Um, I think they end up approaching. I think they end up approaching Shetty about it, and then
Correct.
realize that Shetty may be in on it, and that also the Professor Brinkoff was in on it as well.
Correct.
Because the school was founded on a professor who essentially that's what his whole plan was to study soups
Mm-hmm.
and to learn how to manipulate soups to do what they wanted them to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the school was founded on.
That is
And
true.
they just turned it into this cosmetic thing a little bit later on to kind of hide the fact that this is what they were doing. Um, but they get a little too close. Someone finds out. Someone mind wipes them. Emma wakes up in a pool like like 5 times her normal size.
Right. Because this is the first
Uh,
time we found out that she can grow big as well by
yeah,
eating a lot.
by eating enough. Maria and Jordan end up in a bed, waking up in a bed somewhere.
That is
Andre and Kate end up in a bed, I think, as well. But
at the
prior
same
to
place.
yeah, at the same place. But prior to that, back in episode 2, which we didn't cover, her and Andre took their compassion for their love
Right.
for their friend with each other, and
Right.
he ends up sleeping with her. Um,
However, we find out that they had already been involved with each other, even when she was with
mhm.
old boy
Yep,
for a while.
yep. That's what we find out a little bit later on. Um, was that episode? That was episode 7, I think, when we ended up finding that out. Um, so I'm trying to remember because I watched 1 through 6, and then
So
I took like a 3 week break, and then I watched 7, 8, and 9.
right. So after that, I believe what happened was once they wake up and they see that they're at a party and they're not really remembering what happened for however long, you pick up with the guy who's like he used to be Illuminati well, he not used to, but he's an Illuminati of the school.
Yes, that's
He's
it.
like a detective of some sort with the TV show, and that's where we pick up because they're calling in the big gun, so to speak, because they had a guy escape from their facility and they need to get to the bottom of what the heck is happening and where he's at. And this guy is supposed to be one of the best of the best. So if you guys have seen those mystery shows where they're to catch a murderer or to catch a predator or anything like that, think of that when you think of this type of guy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's where
But
he's
come to
sent.
find out that this guy doesn't have the cleanest history of his own.
No,
So
to say the very least.
yeah, to say the least.
Yeah.
He actually comes after Shetty for it, which he's saying, hey, I know you're hiding something. They don't know. Not everybody knows about the woods. To the point of I don't think VOT executives knew about the woods.
Yeah,
The
this is
way,
supposed to be pretty hush. It's supposed to be
yeah,
very, very hush. Only a selective few should know about this place.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if
So
you think in terms of that, I guess you should think clearance. Uh, and in that sense, like the Pentagon, you need certain clearance to get to certain levels to know certain information. Think of it like that, I
yeah.
guess.
Which is why Shetty was able to run the operation she was trying to run without anybody finding out. Um, they end up exposing the guy who's trying to find them out, and he ends up leaving them alone. Pretty much episode 5 was kind of, I felt it was more filler.
Hmm.
I think the only thing, somewhere between 4 and 5, Sam, they find Sam at that movie theater.
Right.
And the scene was funny. Sam ends up getting attacked by this attack team they send in there. He ends up taking them all out. But
Easily.
the scene wasn't him taking them out. It was a scene of a
Right.
puppet version
Right.
of himself
Exactly.
taking
So
out other puppets.
right, I think that's how he views it.
That's how
Actually,
he viewed it mentally.
right,
That's how he was
mentally,
cope,
yeah.
able to cope with what was going on.
Right. So psychologically, he's messed up. So he created that illusion for himself in order to keep going. So he sees everything as puppets because he involved himself with Emma in a certain scene, and he's looking at her as a puppet as well. So again, he's kind of removing himself from an actual reality into a more manageable situation for himself because his state of mind is not mature enough to handle the reality of everything that's going on around him. So he views it differently, even though it's all happening. But if you saw a cartoon doing something, it's much more, tolerable than if you
Tolerable, yeah,
saw than
mentally
if you
tolerable.
saw somebody actually doing that same thing to another person. So that's how he actually views things. I think after that, we find out a little bit more about what's going on with the guy that they sent in and his powers. Which is he has interesting powers to me at least. He can kind of just hone in on like your whole body type and just pick up the clues and kind of read your thoughts as well. So he
Right.
has some telepathic abilities as well,
Yeah.
and that's generally how he gets to the bottom of things. But I mean, it's all for clout for him anyway, and his issue, the way that they kind of dismissed him to me, I didn't like the writing of it. I didn't like how they signed his character out. I think there could have been a more creative way to kind of get him out of it, but basically he kind of gets to the bottom of things, but at the same time he doesn't get to the full story. So what
Well,
he
they
decides to
basically shut
do,
him up before
right,
they
and what he
figured out a way to
decided,
shut him up before he
well, when
got
he
everything.
thought he had everything going on, he was just going to blame Shetty for it. He's like, look, here's what's going to happen. Remember, guys, we talked earlier about a fall person. Well, Shetty was about to be that fall person because in her inner circle, she was the low man on the totem pole or low woman on the totem pole, however you guys look at it. And he was like, look, you're about to take the rap for all of this, is basically what he told her. And then she was backed into a corner. So the way that they wrote him off, so to speak, he has an issue with. I guess he had an accident, maybe, and they had to work on his brain or something. And since they did that, it makes him very he he kind of he kind of sees a hole, and he kind of
Yeah.
just wants
He
to.
kind of like here's a hole. I should
Yeah,
stick something in this hole.
yeah, exactly. It's like a
Let me
hole.
stick me in this hole.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like a tree hole, or it's like a pothole, or it's like it's so far fetched in my mind that it just seems really ridiculous. And I told Ghost Dog this before we even started. That is one of the few things that I thought that was kind of poor writing because there's so many different ways you can got with people like that, but that was just a very interesting way to do it. So I
It's
personally
funny because
didn't
the
appreciate it,
closing
but
credit scenes.
yeah, the
Yeah,
glory hole story. Yeah, I
glory
mean,
store.
I mean, yeah, to me, that's okay. I can't relate to something like that, so maybe that's why I've heard of a glory hole and stuff. I understand the concept of it, but I think they took that to the extreme. So, I mean, I personally did not think that was an enjoyable scene or writing personally, but I don't know. What did you think? Yo, let's talk about it. I don't know.
I thought it was hilarious. To be
I
honest
mean,
with
it's kind of
you, like
a little funny, but I don't know. Maybe I'm indifferent about that. I don't know.
I mean, it's just like getting different figureheads getting caught up doing other sexual acts.
Right.
Here's this guy who's doing this sexual act
Yeah.
of his own. Like, you keep coming after us. This is going to get released on you. And it's just him. And the closing credit scenes were just him. The cutaway scenes were just, or after credit scenes were him just finding different holes to put himself in, which was use your units in the hole. He was using his unit in the hole for sure. For sure.
He definitely was. He definitely was.
He definitely used his unit in the hole.
But needless to say, Shetty is still in power at the end of this episode. She
Yes.
found a way to get out of it, so to speak, for now. So I think that's the main takeaway of that episode, basically. And then where do we pick up after that, JD?
Yeah. So that was 5. I think is 6 where we find them.
I can't remember which episode was which. I just know in order
I know
of
that was
sequence of
5.
events,
Yeah.
they
6 was.
they were chasing old boy that whole time. They finally
Oh,
figure out it wasn't him. And then
they
old
forget
girl.
about Sam. Remember, they forgot about
Right,
Sam.
right. They did forget about Sam. Sam comes
And
and finds.
Sam comes in and finds them, and he has to tell Emma, no matter what they tell you, you are a hero.
Right.
Somehow that like triggers something for her. She ends up finding them. They end up running off again. I think she takes him back to her room or something like that and hides him there.
Right. And this is where we're getting.
The rest of the crew ends up like, I forget what ended up happening, but long story short, they end up waking up inside Kate's mind.
Mm-hmm.
In Kate's mind, Soldier Boy, played by Jensen Ackles, who was also Sam on Supernatural. If you guys watch that show, my wife loves that show, so I've watched many episodes of that show. He was on that show called Supernatural, which is it's a pretty good show. But he plays Soldier Boy.
Right.
And Soldier Boy is her imaginary friend that she had from when she was a teenager. She also used to, do what teenagers do when they want to experience things sexually without a partner.
Yeah.
We'll just put it that way. So, I was at a bar, nightclub in Germany in the 90s in the corridor walking to mix the toilet. Had loads of holes I didn't notice walking in. Good beer, but death noticed walking out as I thought. Oh, good Lord, Billy D.
Oh wow.
I'm trying to keep this as YouTube friendly as possible, but still give the accurate depiction of the shows. But yeah, so essentially what's happening is there's like a storm breaking out, but the storm isn't a normal storm. This is Kate's mind breaking.
Mm-hmm.
It
That
was
is correct.
a shaped soap. It wasn't. It was warm. Not sure what that is. I'm going to leave that where that is right there, that comment. So what do you remember from this episode? I remember that part. And they kind of start going through the different memories, correct?
Yes.
This is one where they find out that Andre and her had actually had done things more than once. Even before Golden Boy had passed. What else was it?
So they also, this is basically
Oh, this is when they
where
found
she
out that
has
Jordan,
pretty much.
They found Jordan was helping Professor Brinkoff.
Yes. Right.
And that they also found out that Kate had knew about Golden Boy's brother prior,
Mm-hmm.
and that she was tired of making Golden Boy do what they wanted him to do, because they was running different. This is how we found out how Golden Boy became as strong as he did. They were taking some of Sam's strength and putting it into his brother, trying to make him the best replacement for Homelander as possible. And Kate was the one making him forget
Yep.
that his brother was there, and about his brother, and about everything that was going on. Um, the memories were crashing down around him. She was talking to Shetty in her memories, and Shetty was like, "Now make them forget." And that was when she met them. She was talking about Marie, Andre, and Jordan inside the memories, and had to find a way to wake her up so they could get out. There was some random person that got caught up in there that ended up dying within the memories,
Yeah, that was.
which was kind of strange. Was there anything else about that I'm really missing or not touching on?
So you also had everyone's uh their insecurities and their secrets coming out as well, not just
Not just Kate's.
not just Kate's, but like
Yeah,
everyone's,
yeah.
um with
Jordan's
Jordan,
secret
all
about
that. Yeah,
what he knew about Brinkoff
right.
and what he was doing to Golden Boy.
Andre with her,
Mm-hmm.
I think with the what's the black girl's name again? Help me out.
Maria.
Thank you. I'm terrible with names, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So also Maria's situation with what she
With her sister.
did, and all that stuff, and how that went down with her sister, the aftermath of that. So it was, I mean, it was nice to know that. Maybe it will go somewhere later on, because there is a something forming with her sister from the beginning, where she actually is trying to get back in touch with her sister. So I think they may touch on that a little more in depth later on in season 2.
Season
But it was
two.
a nice,
Mm-hmm.
it was something nice to at least see. But other than that, no, that was just generally just everything coming
Yeah,
out, I would
and that's
say.
pretty much all of episode 7. Was
Yeah.
this situation? They were just basically trying to get out. When they did finally get out, it was the end of episode 7. I think they had made a plan to try to alert what was going on. Um, they wanted to figure out who they could tell, because they weren't sure who they could tell. They knew that Shetty was part of it. Shetty was part of it.
Hmm.
Um, they knew that the woods was real and that somebody was experiment. They were experimenting on different ones. I think during this time, Shetty had the doctor um, come up with a way to make that virus more potent.
Yep.
It was killing suits instead of just taking away their powers. Um, so she was trying to figure out a way to get it to become airborne, so that she could. Essentially, we come to find out that Shetty has a vendetta against all suits,
Right.
because she says they leave nothing but destruction behind, and we learn
Yeah.
why in episode was it end of episode 7.
Something like that.
Yeah,
She basically comes out and
yeah,
tells.
because she doesn't make it to episode 8.
No, she don't.
No, she doesn't make it to episode 8, because in episode
Yeah.
7, they so Kate decides that she's going to go talk with Shetty and make her confess. Andre decides to go with her. During this time, his dad Polaris is doing a TV show talking about something. Why Marie and Emma and Jordan tried to go tell Victoria Newman, played by Claudia Dumit, who she also played in The Boys. She's the one that was popping heads, if you need a reminder.
Hmm.
She's the head popper in the show. And we learned that she just doesn't pop heads. She actually can control blood, same as Maria can.
Right, and that's huge, because that tells us the potential of Maria Monroe,
Yeah,
which I think she's going to get a lot more powerful, and display a lot more abilities than she has
yeah.
so
Because
far.
she's been able to slow heart rates down, speed them up.
Put
She's
blood
been able
back into
back into
individuals.
people.
I think the way it works is she has the blood protrude from your body, like basically. I think that's how the head popping works because she did it to old girl's arm by
Yeah.
reaching out. Um, but that's the only way I can think of it is that she just has all of it just protrude out the whatever area that is, and then it just basically whatever is in its way is no longer in its way.
Yeah.
I think
Pretty
that's
much.
basically how that works. I'm not entirely
Pretty
sure,
much.
but I think that's how it works.
Yeah. So
She also can tell what conditions you have as well through how your blood is coursing through your veins. She can tell if you're pregnant. She can tell if you're sick. She can tell all that stuff. So that's
she can
actually
tell. She can actually tell if you're a supernaut
right. And
based on
and
the
she
type of blood.
she got into this fight scene with the invisible guy, and I think she was able to tell where he was at through his heartbeat. So again, just giving her a lot of different useful abilities that comes along with what she has going. So I think she's a lot more powerful than what we've seen so far.
I think
Um,
we're going to learn about that in season two more so. But so in episode 7, Kate ends up essentially making Shetty kill herself.
correct.
Andre's dad, Polaris, ends up having a aneurysm, and then they're trying to rush him to the hospital. And in the midst of trying to rush him to the hospital, um, because he's having these aneurysms and he won't wake up, he's crushing the ambulance and making
Yep.
all this metal fly all over the place. The poor
hmm
lady who's trying to help him is getting stabbed repeatedly by
Yep.
different things.
Getting all
And
types of lacerations.
apparently she's used to it because she doesn't freak out.
I mean, that was kind of crazy. But note everyone that the reason why his dad is having this is from him consistently using
Yeah,
his powers.
that's what
So
the doctors are
that
telling him later on.
is that is telling us that if Andre continues to use his abilities, that this is a real possibility for him too. So that I think that's key, and I think that's huge because I think that might pop up at the worst possible time is why I
Right.
say that, right? Because his
Yeah.
dad was in the middle of an interview in front of lots of peoples and cameras and just casually talking, and all of a sudden he just spazzes out. So this can spontaneously happen, and I think that might lead up to something where Andre they might need him for a specific situation, and he might end up spazzing out, right? Like that's a possibility, but we now at least know that if he continues to use his abilities, that this can become his reality too.
Yep. The doctor actually talks to him about that in episode 8, and they ask him, have you felt lightheadedness or any twitching in your fingers or anything like that? And he says, doesn't everybody experience
Right.
lightheadedness?
Yeah, he's like, I thought that's just normal. And it probably is normal for him because he's probably been using his powers unaware, just like his dad, and now they're dealing with the consequences of that, which is another thing that I actually did appreciate once again that there's consequences to having this type of power, so to
Yep.
speak.
Yep. Yep. So Kate, at this point in time, had also started realizing that Shetty's medicine that she had been giving her to help her deal with her pains in her head were actually medicine to subdue her powers
hmm
so that she wouldn't hit her full potential on her powers so that she could control her more.
Right.
Um,
So that's like a Professor Xavier and Jean Grey s type thing. He put mental blocks inside of Jean Grey in order to limit the amount of abilities that she could use. Because I don't know if you guys saw the old X-Men 3. He was like, "Well, she's dangerous, so she has to be controlled." Right? That's the
yeah.
whole.
Hmm.
That's the whole. That's what that reminds me of right there.
Yeah.
Um.
But at this point in time, Kate hasn't taken her medicine in a few days. So
Right.
her powers are actually
Growing.
much greater and growing, and she's able to do a lot more. Where she realizes that the medicine wasn't helping her; it was hindering her. She actually is pretty evil
Right. And
as
that's
this comes
why I
along.
said that I think we're going to see her become a lot more powerful as well in the next coming seasons, because I think her potential is just being scratched, so to
Right,
speak.
right. So she ends up freeing the other soups down in the her and Sam end up freeing the other soups that were being locked up. That the ones they called the meth heads.
Hmm.
Um, but they're that way because they've been locked up and kept isolated for long periods of time, to the point of it been experimented on and tested on and beat on and propped at and pried on, and
Yeah, they were
after so
mistreated.
long, yeah,
They
after
were
so
be-
long, you're gonna be like, I hate everything and everybody.
yeah.
So
That's almost reminding me of, and I don't condone this, by the way. I just know it exists. Back in the day, there used to be people that got in a lot of trouble for dog fighting, for raising dogs to fight. And the way that you raise the biggest, baddest dog to fight for money, by the way, guys, is you beat the dogs, you abuse them, you beat the hell out of them, and then they become mean and aggressive. And that's what you want in a fight. And that is essentially what they were doing to these prisoners, so to speak. And
yeah,
obviously they just get mean, they
they
get
weren't
aggressive.
they weren't doing it to make them fight though. They were doing it to test them,
Right.
just
Right. Not I
run a
was just
test on them.
saying,
Yeah,
that's
the
what it
concept is
reminds
the
me of.
same though.
Right, the concept, yeah.
Yeah,
So when they got loose, what do you think they did? They just attacked everything and everyone. There was at least a couple of them that were asking were they soups, so they didn't exactly attack them,
yeah,
but
yeah.
the
So the thought process was we don't attack our own kind. We're going after all the non-soups who want us dead anyway.
right.
So they only attacked non-soup people.
Initially, right. But then
No,
when the ones that started fighting back, then they
and
started
then
attacking them.
anybody, yeah, anyone that fought back
Then
towards
they
them
started
also.
killing them
Yeah,
too.
right, right, exactly.
But yeah, the concept was we don't attack our own. Kind of like Magneto with the Blur the Hood of evil mutants. Hey, all
Correct.
mutants. I don't attack my brethren. And then of course, if you fight against them, then well, that's what you get, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. So that was the concept. We kind of missed a couple parts. Emma had Sam locked in the picture that just went by. Reminded me. Uh, Emma had Sam hang out in her room. He heard a bunch of kids in the
Right.
hallway
Uh
having
huh.
fun, so he went out to go have fun with them. Um, and that's how Sam. They were going to go to quote unquote a party, which they weren't going to a party. They were going to that conference with Victoria Newman was going to
Correct.
be at to talk about.
I think they
You
were
know,
protesting, right? They were
they basically were
protesting.
protesting. Yeah,
Uh huh.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's how Sam got that ideal. When you take a mentally unstable person and give them an ideal like this, it makes them even more unstable. Um,
I
to the
think
point.
he. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think even during that time where I think he was fighting within himself to not do what he ultimately decided to do, and the voice of reason in his head was his brother. Okay, that was the voice of reasoning telling him like, listen, you don't want to do this. Turn back. This is not you, man. And he kept
Yeah.
fighting against that. Uh, to
Hey, Jules.
ultimately hey, what let me in, Jules, to ultimately where he's like, look, this is what I'm going with. But even the whole time in doing that, he did have a voice of reasoning within his own head, uh prior to him acting upon it. And actually it's funny because I think that might end up playing a factor in season 2, to where he might revert back to being okay, with those guys and helping those guys out. I don't know, but
I don't know.
I think
I
that's
don't
a
know
possibility since he
because the
has.
way,
Go ahead. I'm
yes,
sorry.
I mean, yeah, but his brother wasn't able to talk him off the ledge. He still went with Kate and did what Kate told him
No, that is
to do.
true. But
And
at the
Kate,
same
he even
time, it
asked
also
Kate to help
tells
him
us.
forget.
I mean, it also tells us that he has a voice of reasoning to be there inside his own
Yeah,
head too.
true,
So just
true.
because you didn't listen to it the first time doesn't mean that you won't listen
You
to
won't
it
listen to it
eventually.
again. Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
So it does give him a conscience, so to speak. And I think if they go too extreme, I think the voice of reason will overpower, uh, the actions that they're doing right now. Because I think Kate has already proven that she's willing to go the distance, right? And actually, her ideology behind it, I actually did agree with. If you're trying to kill us, then you're a threat. I got that part. I just think she went too far with it. I just think she went too. I think she was like, look, since you're trying to kill all of us, we in turn have to kill all of you. I don't agree with that. I just agree like if you guys are trying to kill us, we need to stop you guys, right? That's the
right,
difference, right? We need to stop you guys that are trying to kill us, not let's just kill all Homo sapiens because they're not us. Like that to me it doesn't seem accurate whatsoever. So she just took that, and beyond. And unfortunately, he's listening to her because I don't think he actually knows any better other than the torture and torment that he had to endure along with the ones that had to endure it as well. So I think they're
right,
kind of misguided on that.
right. Yep. So, big battle breaks out on campus. Essentially, they call in Homelander
Yeah, that
because
was crazy.
because the situation was out of control. They wanted Homelander to round up the meth head soups. Little did they know that Homelander's bat, for lack of a better term, batshit crazy.
Yeah, he
And
was.
after Maria tears off Kate's arm, um, he Homelander lands and says, "So you're attacking your own kind? We don't do that," and ends up shooting
Burning
his
a
eye beam.
hole through her.
I don't know if he burnt a hole through her.
I think he did. How could it not, GD?
I don't know because she didn't have any holes when she woke up.
Well, I don't. I mean, she can heal though. Remember, she can control the matter
Yeah,
in the
but
blood. And,
she was a she was she was gone. She was in a coma.
yeah, she was out. She was definitely out. Whatever he did to
We
her,
thought she was dead. We thought she was dead.
I thought she
Is
was
what we
super
thought.
dead. I thought she was super dead.
I
I
thought she
was
was
like,
dead.
oh, he's about to kill her. And
Yeah,
she had her hands up and everything. Like her and
everything.
Jordan both had their hands up, and they're
Yeah,
like, "Look, man, we're on your side." And he wasn't having none of it. He was like,
none of that.
"Oh yeah,
And
no,
then the news credits Kate and Sam
yep,
for stopping what the thing that was going on. Um, Andre, Emma, Marie, and Jordan are all locked up in this room together. This white room with no doors, just a hatch above head. So I have no clue where they're at. Um, it does look like someone brought up on one of the recap shows I was watching, that it does look like one of the rooms that was at the um, Vault City,
oh Vought,
Vault building.
yeah, the
Yeah,
Vought building, yeah, That's I
yeah,
think that's where they're being held in.
yeah. And but there's no doors. I think it's underground, which is kind of crazy. We didn't talk about also how Victoria Newman blew up the doctor's head after she got the plans of how he
Right,
made that virus to kill all soups.
right. So she is a soup herself, and she is pregnant. However, knowing her, I do not think that she's going to dispose of it. I think she's going to use it for her own nefarious purposes, as she's done this entire time.
Yeah.
I think she'll just utilize it against maybe some of her enemies that are in her way, but I don't think she'll destroy it at all.
Well,
And the problem with that is I think
Newman isn't
that
pregnant. She already has a daughter.
no, she's definitely
She
pregnant, brother. One
she's
million
pregnant.
percent. Yeah, because she told. This is how we found out that she could use her blood ability because she told
That's right. She told
Maria
her that she was
Moreau
pregnant.
to use her power. She's like, now listen to my blood, and then she's like, oh my God, you're pregnant. So that's how we found out that she could figure things out through people's blood. But
Yes.
also the problem with what I see that could potentially happen is she's going to utilize that virus against somebody. It's going to destroy them, but then that's going to get people thinking, okay, we have a virus that takes out soups, and then they're going to try to replicate that, right?
Yeah.
So if
Probably.
you don't destroy it at its core, then generally 9 times out of 10, what happens is you just spread it just a little slower.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's what I
So
see, or that I could foresee happening
so
potentially.
there's only a handful of people that know that Victoria Newman is a soup, and Maria is one of them, along with I think did her assistant die in
Ooh, that's a good
The Boys
question.
3? I don't remember. And then
A lot of people
the
died.
guy that was in control of Bot, um,
I
the
think he
old black
died.
dude. Yeah, I think he died. He knew
Right.
that she was the soup, and I think that was it.
Mhm.
Like no one else knows that she's a soup.
Mhm.
So, and then we do know that SETI had reached out to one of the directors from another organization that
Mhm.
works with Billy Butcher,
Mhm.
and we assumed that Billy Butcher was on the phone
Right.
at that point in time, and they did a cut scene of him showing up at that vault facility or the Gothic Youth facility, and everything was destroyed, and he was just too late. So there's that, and then I'm just trying to remember like other little small details that were kind of in
Well,
there.
I think that's leading to a crossover event between
Yeah,
the boys and Gen V. Which I don't know because to be honest, I listened to the whole Gen or to the whole boys comics from Rob Explain. I
mm-hmm.
listened to the whole thing. So the direction that they're going with this is actually relatively new. So I don't even have a inclination of
Yeah,
how
there's
this
yeah, there's
kind
no
of
inclination of where they're going to go with this one,
right. But
but looking
it does seem kind of interesting a little bit.
yeah. So looking forward to season 2 of this. Looking forward to season 4 of the boys and see how that all ties in together, because they were able to tie the boys back into this pretty easily,
Yeah.
which did very seamlessly, which seems like it should have been with no problem. Um, and very interested to see where this storyline goes from here. But that's pretty much the season. It's 9 episodes. If you haven't watched them all, go check them out. We gave you a very small snippet of things of what we thought through each one. Um, but you definitely go form your own opinion. Come back and leave a comment on this video. I'll leave it up, and let us know what you thought. Let us know what your thought process is. Where do you think this is going? And we'll kind of see that. Jay, so what are your final thoughts on this season of Gen V?
Um, Ultimately, like if I had to give it a rating, I would say 7.5 out of 10 for me personally, which is actually a good review for me.
Okay.
It very engaging. Definitely left there more to be desired when it ended. So I'm very much more so looking forward to the next season and seeing kind of what's going on. It kept me engaged in that aspect of things. There was a couple gripes, but other than that, I thought this was a good show. Now, granted, it is not for kids, and it is very gory and it's very graphic. So if you can deal with those things, then you're good
Very
to go.
graphic.
If you cannot deal with those things, then I would not
I put
recommend
it to you
that you
like
watch
this:
this.
the gore is okay because if I can watch it, anybody can watch it. I hate gory, scary movies. I hate all that stuff. If I can watch it, you can watch it. The graphics, though, it was very graphic.
It's very graphic, guys.
Very graphic. They hold back nothing.
Right.
On the boys and on this.
Yeah. So if that's not something that you're into due to religious reasons or due to that's not something that you're just into, then I would not recommend it for you. But if you're down for a really good story, and you can handle those things and you're of age, I would definitely recommend that you give this a shot.
If you don't like having fun when you watch a show, then don't watch this show, because this show was fun. It was good. It was a really good, fun show. There was a lot of hidden things in there, which Jay and I kind of already touched on, as far as like class, race, and different things like that. That's all in there. Politics. Yeah. It's all in there.
It really, really is. And they included it in such a smooth way, in my opinion. Such a smooth way. But again, that's my assessment of it. I am very much looking forward to the next season. And I would recommend people that like this type of stuff, go watch it. Granted, if you don't approve of those things, then don't. But other than that, yes, I did enjoy it.
Yeah, Billy, if you didn't like The Boys, you won't like this. If you watch The Boys, you like, The Boys aren't for me, then don't watch this. This isn't going to be for you either.
This is just pretty much the same thing.
It's parallel to The Boys.
Yeah.
Parallel to The Boys. Well, that's all I've got. If I had to give it a rating, I'd be very close to Jay. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. Very good storyline. Where there's always some, they could have done this differently, always. But overall, a really good storyline. I really like the character building they did within the 9 seasons. Touching on not necessarily any history of the characters outside of Marie, but more so like you learned who each one of the characters were just by watching the nine episodes.
Yeah.
And what they may become going forward. So there's that. That's my and I iterate with Jay. If you got kids, don't watch this with your kids unless you let your kids watch stuff like this. If you didn't like The Boys, then you won't like this one. I did recognize that Luke, aka Golden Boy's last name is Schwarzenegger. Is he related to Arnold?
That's a very good question. We could look that up real quick if you got a sec. Because that's a little bit more of a common name than maybe just Arnold, but
he is the son of Arnold. He is the son of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, then there we go.
There you go.
That's actually pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool. I didn't know that until you just said that. I didn't know that. I wouldn't have caught that one. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Son of Arnold Schwarzenegger. He didn't have a lot of role. He died early on. He had the reoccurring stuff in the later episodes.
But he's tiny compared to his dad. He's tiny. He's tiny by his dad's
small
standards.
version.
Yeah, tiny by his dad's standards. But hey, that's
very
cool.
Much so. And like you said, we got Sean Patrick Thomas, which we knew.
Right.
Clancy Brown, who's played in several other things. Let me see if I can pull up some of the other things he was in. Shawshank Redemption. He was in that. He was in The Highlander. He was in John Wick Chapter 4. And he was on Starship Troopers.
I haven't seen John Wick 4 yet.
I haven't seen... What did I watch 4? I can't remember if I watched 4. But you definitely remember Shawshank Redemption. He was the guard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was the guard in Shawshank Redemption. He was one of the commanding officers in the Starship Trooper movie.
I don't think I've seen
the original. You didn't see Starship Troopers?
I can't remember if I did right now. If I did,
the bugs that they were basically fighting. They were fighting bugs, and they had like different army. They had like an army. They had a space or air force. Then they had then they were all like these high school friends who ended up going different routes.
Okay.
One guy was basically infantry. His girlfriend ended up becoming like the flight or aerial part of it, and his one buddy became like a general or something like that helped plan the attacks. And yeah, it's just gotta watch it. Starship Troopers was good. Starship Troopers was good.
Okay.
All the light we can't see, Mark Ruffalo. All the light we cannot see. I haven't seen that. I haven't heard about that one, Billy. I'll have to check that one out. But right now we're watching Invincible. We're 3 episodes in.
Yes, that's so amazing.
It's been pretty good so far.
Ooh.
I can't wait to talk about that one.
I cannot wait to talk about that one either, man.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah. I should be back tonight potentially. I don't know if it's going to be an MCOC stream or if it's going to be a Loki season finale wrap up. I need to watch the latest episode. Yeah,
you do.
Watch that.
You got to watch it, dog. You got to.
Yeah.
I can't wait to have that conversation, GD. But I will try to tune in to whatever you talk about tonight or do. Tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do a Loki. If we don't do the Loki wrap up, I might do just a standard stream, just because I hadn't really streamed much of the game this week. I think I did like a 30-minute stream on Thursday for my birthday, and that was it. And so I may jump in and either do some arena grinding while talking, or so I can build some more units. I'm only at 17.5.
Yeah, Cyber Weekend right around the corner. Yeah, that would be smart. Yeah. You already know what I got going on, so yeah.
And then tomorrow, Jason's going to be starting early tomorrow morning, early U.S. time, later in the day for you people on the other side of the pond. But starting early U.S. time, he's going to be doing some
Acropolis.
He's going to be doing his first probably 2 or 3 paths, I would guess.
Yep. I'm gonna try to at least get 2 at the minimum, and I am encroaching. The goal for tonight is to be at 400 revives. I'm getting closer and closer to 400 revives, so we should be able to get a decent amount of runs in within Sunday and Monday. I'm gonna try to do as many as I can. I don't know if I can commit to 3. It just depends on how fast we can get the first and the second done. I do have a plan on how I'm going to go about it, but yeah, we're going to start early tomorrow morning. We will have Ghost Dog on call at various points. We will have Jules on call. We will have Lefty on call, and we will have Assassin on call, who is one of my alliance mates, and he actually has completed Necropolis already. So we're going to have the map. We're going to plan it out. We're going to have some fun. I am going to bring in Kang on some paths. I can't commit to every path because some of these paths are very specific. So I'm going to bring in Piggy some. We're going to have interchangeable characters. We're going to have some fun, but we're also going to be optimal about it too, right? So yeah, 400 acceleration. Yeah, we're going to have all the revives out the way so we can just keep going. I have like, real quick, I have... of the 30%ers for boost, I have 34. I have 34 30% boost. So we're gonna have enough boost, and you guys just let me know when to boost, and GD, and then we'll keep you guys company while I just kind of focus on getting through it. So that's the plan.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, that's gonna be it for us. I have to start my laundry and go collect some leaves out of my front yard in my backyard. Yeah. So I'm doing that for the rest of the afternoon. And then I got to run to the store. And then hopefully be back this evening for some kind of stream. We'll see how I feel and if I'll have guests on for the Loki stream or not. If not, then we'll just do some Marvel Contest of Champions and chat it up.
All right.
But that's going to be it. Thanks, Jason, for hanging out with me and talking about GenV today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Well, good. We'll try to be a little bit more prepped next time. We'll
definitely get that taken care of.
Jay had a last minute thing he had to run to go take care of. That's why he's not on camera. And then I had I had last minute breakfast plans this morning. So,
Yeah.
well, next time hopefully we'll be a little bit more prepared. All right, guys. Until the next one, this is your boy Ghost Dog with Jason signing out.